Hi, my name is Kristin and this is Kristin Kraves Books. We are now talking about May releases. Cannot believe it. There's some really exciting books coming out in May. Not as many pre-order incentives as last month, but they could still creep up. That's the thing. Sometimes they're not announced until closer to release date, so we will see. If anything changes, I will update that in the links below. So the links you need for those pre-order incentives will be in a pinned comment and in the description. And I also have a link to my Goodreads shelf that is for all my 2024 releases. I just think that's probably an easier way for all of you to go through and see all the books that I'm excited about for the year, and then find the ones from this video, add them to your own shelves and all that kind of stuff. So the first release date is May 7th, and the first book is a rom-com by an author who I've discovered in the last year. I talk about on the channel quite a bit lately because when I need something comforting, she's the author I turn to, and a lot of her stuff is on KU. I've read a lot of her novellas. This is a full-length novel from her, and obviously the author is Jackie Lau. And the book is called Love, Lies, and Cherry Pies. And if you watched my last video, I was talking about how I love foodie romances, but there aren't as many these days. I don't know if this is your traditional foodie romance, but cherry pie is in the title. There's a huge piece of cherry pie on the cover, and it just looks like a fun time. It's got fake dating, one of my favorite tropes. We're following a woman whose mother really wants her to get married. She is the youngest girl in the family, and her mom is always meddling and pestering her to date one of the family friend's sons, but our main character has never liked this guy. She's always thought he was boring. He's an engineer, and she has this idea that he thinks that he is too good for her, but they come to this arrangement where they agree to pretend to be together just to get her mom off her back, and I'm sure he has his own motivations as well, but they really have to sell it because of family meddles, not just the mom, the entire family. So they start to go on dates and family members show up, so they really are forced to pretend they're together, and obviously they fall in love. And I just love the way that Jackie Lau writes characters. It's always really funny, not like the best writing in the world, but a good time for me. I know she's a reliable author for me, and I'm really excited about this one. With baseball season starting again, I love this time of year. It just reminds me of summer so much. We do have a baseball romance coming out that I cannot wait to get my hands on. And we also have a special guest. Anytime I sit in this chair, she wants to be involved. She knows that I'm talking to the camera. She thinks it's odd. She thinks I'm talking to her. So she comes over, and I can't leave her out of the room because I feel bad, and she cries. So she'll be in and out of the video. That's just the way that she is. But this book is You Should Be So Lucky by Cat Sebastian. And I love the way that this is described. It said it's an emotional, slow burn, love it, grumpy sunshine, queer mid-century romance for fans of Evie Drake Starts Over, about grief and found family between the new star shortstop stuck in a batting slump and the reporter assigned to reluctantly cover his first season. Apparently this book is set in the same world as a different book by this author, but I haven't read that one yet. But the baseball thing got to me. I love that it's mid-century. That's a bit different. Grumpy sunshine. I love reluctance, like friends to lovers kind of thing seems to be the vibe. So it's actually set in 1960. Our main character is in his first year in professional baseball, but he hasn't been able to hit a ball all season. And then the reporter Mark is actually an art columnist, but there's not a lot of work in that field anymore, so he's assigned to do this job, and he obviously doesn't want to do it. He's also grieving the loss of his partner, who he was never able to be public about, so he's going through that as well. So we're definitely going to get some deeper topics and conversations in this one, and the two of them have an attraction to each other that I'm sure we see grow. But Mark doesn't want to be a secret like he was in his last relationship, and Eddie cannot come out when he's in professional sports. So I'm curious to see how that is all handled. But I say every time, I want to be somebody who loves sports romances, and maybe baseball is the way to go. And the last one for May 7th is a debut novel, and it's a YA thriller. Again, in my last video I talked about how much I love YA thrillers, and they really work for me. And this one is Perfect Little Monsters by Cindy RX Heath. And obviously there is a solo cup on this cover, which is kind of interesting, and you know there's gonna be a lot of teenage drama, which I can get into when I'm reading a YA thriller. So in this story, the queen bee of this high school is murdered at her own party. And there are so many suspects because not a lot of people actually liked her, and a lot of people had different motives, but the police are focusing on our main character because she's the new student, and she was the last person to give the queen bee a drink before she died. But obviously our main character didn't do it, and she wants to clear her name, and through all this she discovers some really dark secrets and all the motives that people have for this murder. So I think that could be a fun time. Another good beach read for me because I love a YA thriller on the beach. So it seems we're getting a bit of a thunderstorm. So if you hear that, that is some ASMR for you all, but we're moving on to May 14th and we're getting a new book from June Her. And this is called A Crane Among Wolves, and it says that it crafts a devastating and pulse-pounding tale that will feel all too relevant in today's world based on a true story from Korean history. It's actually set in 1506, so very much a historical fantasy. This is YA, and it is following a character who is living under the rule of a tyrant king. But despite all this, she lives a pretty privileged life. She's not near the capital and her world is pretty small. But her sister becomes the latest prey to this king. So our main character goes to the capital to save her sister and obviously is caught up in everything that is happening there. And she runs into the prince, who is the tyrant king's half-brother, and he wants to dethrone the king. He hates everything that that king stands for. So the two of them reluctantly work together because they have the same goal. And I'm thinking there's probably a romance, as you can probably see from the cover, but I have read something by June Her and really liked it, so I'm curious to see what this one does. And I've said this year, but I've really been enjoying historical fantasy lately, so I hope that one works for me. And this one does have a pre-order campaign, and it's a stunning art print, and obviously this art print solves my question about whether there is a romance, because clearly this looks romantic. And you just have to submit your receipt if you're in US or Canada. I'll leave the link down below. I think you have until May 13th to do that. Next is one I've been hyped for forever. I do have the e-arc of it. I was going to read it, but actually it's going to be the June pick, I believe, for the Black Hat book coven. So I will save it for then. I cannot wait to get to this one. And it is The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. And clearly, if it's going to be part of the Black Hat book coven, which is a witchy book club my friends and I run here on BookTube, it's a witchy book. Screams cozy to me. It's also sapphic, so many buzzwords. And it says the Honey Witch of Innisfree can never find true love. That is her curse to bear. But when a young woman who doesn't believe in magic arrives on her island, sparks fly. So I think that probably gives you a good indication of what this is about. But our main character is more connected to spirits and enjoys their company more than she does the suitors that come into her life. So she's whisked away to the family cottage, which is on this isolated island, to be trained as a honey witch, and she's all for it. But as a honey witch, you cannot be in love with somebody. I don't know, that must be a curse that's passed down or something. And she's okay with that until this girl shows up on her front step. She doesn't believe in magic, but she still needs help, and she wants to prove to this person that magic exists. But then some darker magic appears, the two of them have to work together, fall in love, all that stuff. So I'm hopeful about this one. And there is a pre-order campaign, and it's 2 character art prints. I'll leave the links down below. I think these are really, really stunning, and I feel like a lot of people have probably pre-ordered this one already, so if you have, check that out. Sarah Doss has a new book coming out. She is a underrated YA contemporary romance author who I really love. But this new book from her is called It Waits in the Forest, and actually has fantasy elements to it, which is really intriguing. I can't wait to see what she does in this new genre. Following another character, her name is Selena, who doesn't believe in magic. That is obviously a common trope and one that I'm always interested in. That doesn't bother me, but she lives on a small Caribbean island where everybody really does believe in it, but she is more reluctant. She's always had a passion for botany, and she had dreams of leaving the small island and going to university and all these things. But then something happens where her father dies and her mother is left in a coma, and she feels guilty and feels like she has to stay on the island to take care of her mother. And in order to support her family, she is conning tourists, and she's selling like phony talismans and things like that. But then one of these tourists is found murdered, and she has to accept some truths that she was denying. And I think her ex-boyfriend becomes enraptured in all of this, and they might have a second chance romance of some kind. And it says, desperate to put an end to the killings and claim justice for Selena's family, these 2 former lovers race to find answers. But evil bides its time. And as long buried feelings and long hidden secrets about Selena's family's past begin to reveal themselves, only one answer remains, and it waits in the forest. Creepy. I love a good forest story, you know this. Next is a horror that I just stumbled across. Obviously the cover caught my eye, and this is called My Darling Dreadful Thing by Joanna Van Veen. I'm just going to read you the first paragraph because this sounds so good, and I think I can't explain it any better. But it says, Ruse has a spirit companion only she can see. Ruth, strange, corpse-like, and dead for centuries, is the only good thing in Rue's life, which is filled with sordid backroom seances organized by her mother. That is until wealthy young widow Agnes attends one of her seances and asks Rue to come live with her at the crumbling estate she inherited upon the death of her husband. The manner is unsettling, but the attraction between Ruse and Agnes is palpable. So how does someone end up dead? So intrigued by that. Obviously it's sapphic. I love a good haunted manor, and the seance thing really gets me as well, so a lot of buzzwords in that one for me. I'm really excited for this one because I love a good family drama, and it's called Oye by Melissa Mogollon. It says that it's a coming-of-age comedy, a telenovela-worthy drama, a moving family saga, all in a phone call you won't want to hang up on. So what I gather from looking through the synopsis is that it's actually like transcripts from a phone call, which I think is really interesting and different, and I love that kind of mixed media. A young woman reckons with her rowdy, unpredictable family and the revelation of a long-buried history. So our main character is part of a large Colombian American family, and she is tasked with taking care of her grandmother, and her grandmother discovers that she is ill. So we also follow her grandmother's journey of dealing with that. Then there's also other family dramas going on, something with her older sister as well, and that's all I really need to know about it. That and the fact that it's just a bunch of phone conversations, or one phone call, I'm not sure, is really interesting and different. And as I said, I love some drama. It says it's a telenovela worthy drama, so I'm here for it. I thought the cover of this one was kind of cool. It's called Road to Ruin by Hannah Lee, and it says that it's an electrifying, gritty fantasy from a debut author that takes a royal messenger on a high-speed chase across a climate-ravaged wasteland featuring motorcycles, monsters, and magic. Now, gritty books don't always work for me, but I'm open to trying it. Fantasy with motorcycles could be different. We will see about that one. So our main character is like a courier, but in this world, that's one of the most dangerous jobs you can have. And in this story, she is carrying a love letter from a prince to a princess, and apparently she's actually in love with both of them from what I can gather from the synopsis, and she wants to help them get together, and we're following that journey. So that sounds like it could be a good time, and I have a feeling the world's gonna be really unique. And the bottom paragraph of the synopsis really intrigues me. It says, a storm to end all storms is brewing, and dark secrets about the heritability of magic are coming to light. Jin's heart has led her into peril before, but this time she may not find her way back. Drama. We have a new Christina Henry, and this one is called The House That Horror Built, and I think this one is more gothic, so I've only read one book by her, but of all of the other ones, this is the one that probably intrigues me the most just because it has more of my buzzwords in it. A single mother working in a gothic mansion of a reclusive horror director stumbles upon terrifying secrets. Our main character loves horror movies, so she's thrilled when she gets this job to work for this director, and the house is filled with old props from these horror movies, so that alone is creepy. And the director has vanished from the industry after a family tragedy and some scandal, and he's very private, so our main character just tries to mind her business, but she's starting to hear weird noises behind locked doors and some other things that are happening, and she can't help but to explore more. Sounds like your typical horror story, but the fact that it actually set in the house of a horror director adds that twist, and you can just picture all of the props and costumes and stuff in there, so I'm curious to see what she does with that. Jazz Hammonds has a new book coming out, and this is called Thirsty, and there's something very chilling about this cover. This is YA. This story follows Blake and Ella. They are dating, and they both join this sorority. And Ella's acceptance into the sorority is kind of a sure thing. She's an alumni. She comes from pedigree. But her girlfriend Blake is from working class family, and it's harder for her to become accepted, and she begins to drink more heavily to get liquid courage and to feel like she's more involved in things, and that becomes a slippery slope of her relying on drinking and the world that she falls into through all of that. So obviously some heavy conversations, heavier topics in this one, but probably an important read, and I've heard great things about this author in general. There's actually a really unique pre-order for this one. I'm not entirely sure if it's US only. I will leave all that information down below. But if you submit your receipt, you will get this alternate dust jacket, which I think is really fun and unique and really great illustrations. So again, all that'll be linked down below. Now we're moving on to May 21st, and the first one is really exciting. I'm actually in the middle of the ebook for this one, and it's a new book from Django Wexler, and it's called How to Become a Dark Lord and Die Trying, which is a mouthful, but such a great title. And from what I can tell so far, this humor is a little bit more crude than you might expect, but it makes sense, and I'm having a good time with it. And our main character is living in this time loop where she has to kill the Dark Lord, but every time she fails, then her life starts over again. And she has this epiphany where if she can't beat the Dark Lord, why didn't she just become the Dark Lord? And I love that descent into that. I think this is going to be so much fun the more I get into it. I already know I like Django Wexler, so I can't wait to get my hands on a physical copy of this one as well, because I think it's a good one to annotate. As far as I can tell, I'm doing a lot of highlighting in the ebook, so a good fun time. I do like his sense of humor. Vaishnavi Patel has a new book coming out. Now, Kai Kei was my favorite, but I did say I was open to trying something else because I like the idea of her books, and this one is called Goddess of the River. And this is actually a reimagining of the story of Ganga, the goddess of the river, and her doomed mortal son. So I don't know much about the background of that one, so I'd be curious to see how people who are familiar with the original tale feel about this interpretation of it. Mother and a son, a goddess and her prince, a curse and an oath, a river whose course will change the fate of the world. When We Are Silent by Fiona McPhillips is next, and I think that this is being called suspense but also dark academia, and I love that blend. And there's a secret society. I'm reading another book that comes out in May that I'll talk about soon that also has a secret society, and I'm realizing that is something I really love. So this one is interesting. We're following Lou, who is new to this private school, and she's trying to connect with her classmates but is having a hard time fitting in, and then a classmate is murdered. And then we jump 30 years into the future, and Lou gets a call from a lawyer who is reopening this case and needs her to testify. So I think that we're probably gonna get dual timeline, which is something I really love. And I just have a good feeling about this one. I don't know why. It's been on my radar for a while now, one I've been ready to read, so I can't wait for that one to come out. Then we have Second Nightstand, which is another one I have an e-arc of, and I really should get to before it is released because it's one I'm excited for, and it is a contemporary romance. And it's a burlesque performer and a professional ballerina fall in love while competing on a reality TV talent show. And I think that's probably all you need to know about this one. I love that entire setup. I love a good competition. I love a sapphic romance, and both of our main characters have different motivations for being on this show, and obviously they have a lot of chemistry and they're into each other, but then you have that conflict of them both wanting to win. So I'm curious to see how that all is done, and I hope that there's some drama. If you're gonna give me a reality competition show, I want the behind the scenes drama, and I have a feeling we might get that in this one. Another contemporary romance is Here for the Wrong Reasons, another sapphic romance, and this is by Annabelle Paulson and Lydia Wang. And if you watch The Bachelor at all, you know that one of the common phrases is, are they here for the right reasons? And I love that this is a spin on that, and it's just another one of those books. I feel like we've gotten a few of these in the past few years where the two contestants on a reality dating show end up falling for each other. I actually haven't read one of those yet, but they're all my TBRs. If you have read any of the past ones, let me know. And if you love that trope, here's another one. It says it's for fans of The Charm Offensive, which makes complete sense, and Love Island. I love Love Island, okay? I admit to it. The drama. So another book that seems like it's gonna bring the drama for me. I don't know what it is, but that's what I want. This next one just appeals to me in so many ways. It's called Love in All the Haunted Places by Claire Kahn. First of all, I love the cover. I think it's gonna have some cozy vibes. The house is sentient. That is one of my favorite things ever, and I think that this is just gonna be really sweet. So our main character has a passion for anything supernatural, and there's a movie being filmed in this Victorian home, but a lot of the cast and crew quits after 3 days of staying there. So that's just how she gets a job on set, and she ends up having a romance with one of the actors, but the house itself is very jealous. The house itself loves her main character and it doesn't want her with somebody else, wants all the attention, is lonely. So I think that is kind of fun, and I love a sentient house, and this seems like a unique take. I don't think I've ever read a book where the house is jealous before, so definitely the house is going to be a main character, and that is what I want. Stuart Turton has a new book. I know a lot of us are excited for this one, and this is called The Last Murder at the End of the World, and it seems to have a sci-fi kind of element to it, which is fun. It's an inventive, high-concept murder mystery, an ingenious puzzle, an extraordinary backdrop, and an audacious solution. Solve the murder to save what's left of the world. Outside the island, there's nothing. The world was destroyed by a fog that swept the planet, killing everyone it touched. On the island, it is idyllic. 122 villagers and 3 scientists living in peaceful harmony. The villagers are content to fish, farm, feast, to obey their nightly curfew, to do what they're told by the scientists. But then one of the scientists is murdered, and they have to solve the murder to save the world. But the catch is everyone wakes up the next day and forgets everything. So one of them has killed the scientists, but nobody remembers it. So that is really different. We'll see how it's done. I do trust Stuart Turton. I'm always in awe of his mind and his twists and stuff. So I'm with everybody. I'm excited for that one. I know we get a lot of these covers where it's a hand like squeezing fruit. I know that that seems to be a common trope in books that are more literary, but it always catches my eye. I don't know why, that's always a cover that I'm drawn to. And this newest one is called I Want You More by Swan Huntley. It says, when ghostwriter Zara falls for her celebrity chef client, Jane Bailey, she starts to see the side Jane keeps hidden from the cameras and gets stuck in the plot she never saw coming. So I think that this starts off with our main character, Zara, being a ghostwriter. She is hired to work on this cooking show. She spends the summer in this manor with the star of the show, and then their lives become deeply embroiled. They have this connection. She's like wearing the woman's clothes and stuff, and then things get dark and Zara is trying to escape. So I love like that descent into something scary that you don't even realize is happening at first, and I'm just in the mood for something like that. And again, I love this cover so much, and anything to do with the darker side of celebrity, I am always open to checking out. Another one that seems to lean more literary, I do have an e-arc of this one and I adore the cover so much, is called Perfume and Pain, and this is by Anna Dorn. Controversial Los Angeles author attempts to revive her career and finally find true love in this hilarious nod to 1950s lesbian pulp fiction. It follows Astrid, who apparently has a big perfume collection. I'm curious to see how that is part of the story, but she's a midless author. She was canceled but finds her way back into this writing group that she was the founder of, and she's also sleeping with Ivy, who is a grad student. There's also a painter named Patricia who gets wrapped up in Astrid's world, and then Astrid gets a call that a really famous actress wants to adapt one of her books, so that begins to happen, and I think there's like a descent into the dark world of celebrity, which is again a common theme that seems to be happening lately. It says that Anna Dorn has crafted an exquisite homage to the lesbian pulp of yore, reclaiming it for our internet and celebrity obsessed world. And then finally, the book that I'm currently reading and loving, Evocations by S.T. Gibson. I'm about 100 pages into this one. I love her writing so much. This is super pretentious, but in the best way possible. There's a secret society, but it follows more of like the occult mediums and things like that. And we have 3 POVs. One is David, who is a medium and very highly regarded. He comes from a prestigious family, very wealthy. His ex-boyfriend, Reese, who doesn't have a gift, but studies it and has learned to do it. And Reese's wife, Moira, who also is very powerful, but keeping some secrets. And the 3 of them kind of get wrapped up in one another. They have complicated histories. There's a mystery involved in this one that I won't really get into detail with, but I just think the writing's beautiful. I love the way that S.T. Gibson creates characters. As I said, very, very pretentious, but a must read. I am having such a good time with this. I'll be sad when it's over. Chancia C. Higgins wrote one of my favorite romances, Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding, and I've been waiting for something new by them, and this one looks perfect, and it's called A Little Kissing Between Friends. Music producer on the rise, Sin, knows what she likes, from her sickening beats in the studio to the flirty femmes she fools around with. Her ever-rotating roster has never been a problem until her latest fling clashes with Juicy, her best friend and the most popular dancer at a strip club, Sanity. It makes Sin see Juicy in a different light, one with far fewer boundaries and a lot more kissing. So it's friends to lovers. Obviously our main character is a famous music producer, and her best friend starts to get jealous of all of her flings, and they have a romance, but I don't think they want to complicate it too much because they are best friends. But I'm just so excited to have something new from this author, so I will be reading it as soon as it comes out. I saw the dragon on the cover of this and I added it to my TBR. I'm a simple person. This is called The Fireborn Blade by Charlotte Bond. Kill the dragon, find the blade, reclaim your honor. It's that or end up like countless nights before her, as a puddle of gore and molten armor. So I think we're gonna get some grit in this one. So I love that we're following a female knight, and in this world there aren't many of them, and it says that it's a tale that contains a rich history of dragons, ill-fated knights, scheming squires, and sapphic love, with deception and double crosses that will keep you guessing right up to its dramatic conclusion. Ultimately, The Fireborn Blade is about the roles we refuse to accept and the place we make for ourselves in the world. Anna-Marie Michelmore has a new book coming out. It's not getting the best reviews, if I'm honest with you, but I really do love Anna-Marie Michelmore, so I'm still open to trying it, and this one is called Flawless Girls, and I think that this cover's flawless. I love everything about it. We're following these 2 sisters, and they are infamous in polite society, and not for good reasons. It's because they're brazen and rebellious, and their grandmother uses connections to get them into this really prestigious boarding school, but one of the sisters doesn't even last a day. She comes home. She cannot see herself ingrained in this society and becoming like a cookie cutter version of everyone else that's there, but her sister stays behind. And one day her sister comes home, she's acting very strange, something's not right, and then she goes missing. So our main character re-enrolls in the boarding school to try and discover what happened to her sister. So I love a good sister story, I love a boarding school story, I love anything sinister. So even though the reviews aren't stellar, it's still one that I'm curious about. And last but not least is one that just sounds like something I'm gonna love, and it's called Dreadful. And this is by Caitlin Rozakis, and it says that it's a sharp-witted high fantasy farce featuring killer moat squid. What is that? I'm down for that. Toxic masculinity, evil wizards, and a garlic festival all at once. Perfect for fans of T. Kingfisher and Travis Baldry. You don't need to tell me anymore. You know I'm sold on that. It's bad enough waking up in a half-destroyed evil wizard's workshop with no eyebrows, no memories, and no idea how long you have before the dreadlord whomever shows up to murder you horribly and then turn your skull into a goblet or something. It's even worse when you realize the dreadlord whomever is you. That just sounds like perfection to me. So high on my TBR, one I've already pre-ordered. So as you can see, there were not a ton of pre-order campaigns in May that I could find, but a lot of interesting books, a wide range of genres, all ones I'm really excited for. Let me know if I missed any that are on your radar or you can't wait or have already pre-ordered. Give me all the details down below. Again, thanks for your support. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye for now.